Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. You're listening to and possibly watching the Comic Book Bears podcast. I'm Bill Zanowitz.
I'm Steve Morey.
I'm Crypto.
You're not Crypto.
No, I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
And we are your hairy heavy homos to talk about comic books, but you don't have to be a hairy heavy homo to listen in or possibly stream in. We're back with you. We had more than usual episodes last month. We actually got three episodes in. We haven't done that in a while. And again, the last episode, Steve and I were able to interview William Bernhard for his new book, The Superman Wars. And we stay on the super motif tonight, at least in our first half, where we're going to be talking about Supergirl.
Supergirl!
Yes,
and Crypto.
And Crypto, yes.
More
We've all
important.
seen it, and if you're not familiar with what's happening, Supergirl is a new film set from DC Studios, directed by Craig Gillespie, and it stars Millie Alcock in the title role, continuing her role from last year's Superman. It also stars Matthias Schoenaerts, Eve Ridley, David Krumholtz, Emily Beecham, David Cornsweet making another appearance as Superman, and some scene-stealing bits from Jason Momoa as Lobo.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is the part of the new DC Extended Universe. We've had Creature Commandos first season, we've had Superman, we've had Peacemaker's second season, now we have Supergirl. And this was not without some degree of controversy, at least how its release was greeted. Some other controversies regarding one particular reviewer's published review. A whole bunch of stuff, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But so we all had the opportunity to see it, and I'm gonna hand it over to Steve because he's our plot guy. And Steve, why don't you just take us through a very basic plot description of Supergirl?
Well, the basic plot description of Supergirl is loosely based on the 8-issue miniseries from 2021-2022 called Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King and Bilky Ebeli, who I now know how to pronounce her first name because it was a plot point in this movie. But in any case, the film follows both a local alien girl named Ruthie and Kara Zor-el, or Supergirl, as they team up to go and find, or at least bring to justice, Krem of the Yellow Hills. Ruthie's motivation here is because Krem has killed her family, and Supergirl's motivation here is that Krem has shot poor Krypto with a poison-tipped arrow, and he is the only one who has the antidote that Krypto needs to be saved. They go across the galaxy, they encounter a lot of strange creatures, violent situations, are alternately captured, and unfortunately Kara at one point is trapped on a green sun world without any power, and along the way they encounter Lobo, that really obnoxious bounty hunter that gets in the way more than anything else and causes more chaos than he does help. In order to fight Krem and his group of bandits, or brigands, and bring them to justice, and of course save poor little Krypto from an early demise. So, I mean, this film does deviate from the story that it's based on, but it does hit some of the main emotional points, which I think is really at the heart of this film, is really giving us an idea of who Supergirl is, how she became the way she is, and of course the trauma that she continues to experience out in the world, kind of masking it with her sarcasm, with her drunken escapades, and this idea that nothing really can touch her. Who cares? It's all somebody else's problem. But at her core, she is a good person, and we find out sort of why she's a good person. And we also follow Ruthie, and Ruthie, of course, trying to, you know, take out revenge for the death of her family, but she also is kind of learning what that could mean for herself, as well as seeing, what could happen if she were to become as cynical as it seems Supergirl is. So they do learn together, across this journey that they go on. I love the alien designs. There's so many creatures in this one, and almost all of them are very practical designs. So some puppetry, a lot of makeup, a lot of prosthetics, some really cool moments. One of my favorite fight scenes, of course, is the one out in space where she's fighting the three pirates who have come to steal a whole bunch of stuff from the poor folk on the bus and leave them stranded in space. Her getting her powers back after being shot out of an airlock is just so cool, and just that whole scene is so much fun. But there's a lot of humor in there. There's a lot of pathos. We do see a lot of flashbacks from her life on Argo City, which, of course, if you're familiar with Superman lore, Argo City was fully kept from the destruction of Krypton, and is kind of traditionally where Supergirl is from. She and her whole family and the entire city itself was able to survive the destruction, and she sort of escaped the city at some point. And again, the reasons for it change throughout the years. There's been some, obviously some changes to her origin, but ultimately, she, thinking that she was one of the final survivors, she of course is sent to Earth to meet with her cousin, who, by the time she gets there, even though she was older than he was when she started the journey, he is now older than.
Not
Oh,
no no no
oh,
no no no
yes,
no
Bill.
no.
Yeah, he was a baby, but she was alive in some origins.
In some origins, yeah, but I'm saying
Yeah.
here, I don't think so. I think they provided that there's an 8-year gap
In
between the
this
two.
one,
Yeah,
yeah, this one
yeah,
she was born after Argo
yeah.
was saved.
Which
But
was
in
one of the
say
retcon developments in
yeah,
comics that I really liked, in that he's still the last son of Krypton.
true,
He's still the
true.
last survivor. And, in some of what I think is the best continuity, that she had a relationship as his older cousin,
Yeah,
Yeah.
babysat him, had this
yeah.
relationship, and then got shot off into space, and it just took her longer to get where we were.
And
Yeah.
and I think that's I actually like that a little bit more because it's a
Mhm.
bit of a shock to her. That's like, oh, this little child or this baby is now a much older
Yeah.
man, thanks to Einstein's theory, relativity in time and speed of light and all of that. But yeah, in this one, she arrives to Earth knowing nothing, already as a teenager, and is just sort of thrown into this completely new culture, this new planet, and a cousin who doesn't speak her language. So it's before he's even learned Kryptonian. So he is trying to sort of welcome her to her new life, and it's a big adjustment, especially knowing that she just left all of her family and friends to die. But I love this. There were so many emotional moments in there. Part of the speech that her father gives her before he sends her off is taken straight out of the book, out of
Hmm.
Woman of Tomorrow. Bits and pieces of that. It's been expanded a little bit. Um, but obviously there were some other major changes. So what happens to Ruthie and Ruthie's family is very different. Her journey is very different. Um, Although the outcome is more or less the same for her. Uh, the journey of Krem of the Yellow Hills is also very different as the villain. So in here, he is way more villainous than he is in the book. In the book, he's more sort of like an opportunistic sociopath, like some
Yeah.
we know.
Yeah.
Um,
But more like Jabba the Hutt kind
Yeah.
of.
yeah, yeah. Here, yeah, in the movie, he's the head of a massive criminal enterprise of brigands that go from world to world like locusts and consume all of their women, which is not really what he does in the book. In the book, it's actually a lot more horrific and genocidal. So, that was a very interesting change. But I was happy to see Barenton, I believe is the name of the planet, make an appearance here. That's the planet with the green sun that Kara's stuck on. I was disappointed there were no dinosaurs. But also there are some changes that I wasn't a big fan of. So I do think that Jason Momoa, I will say this right now, Jason Momoa is Lobo. Born to play, looks perfect, sounds perfect. Everything about him is perfect Lobo. Did he need to be in this movie? No. That's my 2 cents there. I think they kind of brought him in to add a foil to Supergirl, to add another recognizable comic character that she can play off of.
And fan service, right? Like
service.
Yeah, people have been begging for Lobo.
Yeah, so this presumably would have been a draw for fans of Lobo. It's like, hey, I finally get to see him on the big screen. Although I do think that the Lobo that made the appearance in the Krypton TV series a few years back was pretty cool too. But Lobo aside, I think there were some other changes that I found very interesting to this film, especially the end. So I'll ask, before we get into spoilers, I want to hear what you guys think about it.
Yeah. Oh, why don't you go first, Caleb?
Okay, so I really enjoyed this movie. Like, I really, really, really enjoyed this movie. And so here's the thing. And we'll get into this. There's been a lot of discourse about this movie. There's a lot of people who hated this movie, right? I think there's a lot of people who wanted to hate this movie. And there are some people who I think just genuinely don't like the movie. And I don't want to, there's reasons, I'm sure that I've seen them. I think some of that's predicated on what were you expecting to see? And so I went in this looking like, okay, this looks like a big, dumb, fun summer popcorn movie, right? Bright colors. I really was not expecting it to be as heartfelt as what the first Superman was, or I really wasn't expecting that. I was expecting, Kara goes to a planet to party, gets drunk, gets roped into a situation where she's got to save a kid. She doesn't want to be there. She's just doing some shit. There's going to be aliens. There's going to punch things. She's going to be sarcastic, and she's going to be fun, and then we're going to blast off, right? Because she's not Clark. I was not expecting my heartstrings to get tugged at, which they were at several points in this movie. That's just not what I went to go. Yeah, it's not what I was expecting when I walked into the theater. It superseded those expectations. I'm not saying the bar was low by any means. It was, but I was just going to see a big, dumb, fun popcorn summer movie. I think some people thought that they were seeing Dune. I think some people think that, I don't know where they got that. They sure as hell didn't get it from the trailers, right? But there are some people who I think wanted this to be, I don't know if Endgame or what, but they just really expected it to be something that it was not predicated on. And I don't understand that. I think you had to put effort into not at least having fun during this movie, because at its worst part, it's okay. At worst, it's okay. Overall, it's a fun movie. I love that this is a Western. It's kind of what the book itself is I say the book, the graphic novel, the comics. It's Tom King doing the Tom King thing where he takes a famous film or whatever and adapts superheroes to it. This one was True Grit. It felt like True Grit from the very beginning. That's always what I thought, that it was like the book that he's predicated this on, and it made a lot of sense. I just got through seeing Mando and Grogu. I'm all in for space westerns right now. I think that's fun. I knew it was going to have practical effects, and it had a lot of practical effects. So it also had a lot of CGI, but the practical effects, the aliens and stuff, were cool. So it was right up my alley. It was a big, dumb, fun space western that I got to eat popcorn with and just have fun. I would have loved to have seen more Crypto, but for plot reasons, like Steve said, Crypto gets poisoned, so he's left with some type of alien woman who's caring for him, and he didn't get to have a big part of the movie, but the parts that he were super fun. I actually thought, and this is weird, I hate child actors, but the last few things I've seen with kids, the kids have been excellent. And so I thought that the kid in this did a great job, trying to play that girl who's a pioneer girl, and she's, whether or not she actually is hard, she's been raised to be hard. And she's going to go, do the Ingo Montoya thing and get revenge for her family. it was a lot of fun, right? Like it was really cool. Steve, I kind of agree with you. I don't know that Lobo needed to be in this film, but I'm fine with Lobo being in this film. I thought it was, he was a good foil. I think it showed a good aspect to these characters because all of these characters, when you get down to their genetics of what makes a character, they are like most superheroes, right? They are some reflection of the original Superman. Like either who this person is or who he's not, right? Lobo is a foil for Superman. Kara, Supergirl, is an aspect of Superman, and what makes them interesting is what makes them cool is that comparator and the fact that they are not Clark Kent. They are very powerful. They will break you. They are badasses on a galactic scale, but they're not Clark Kent. They're very different. And so you have Kara, who was more than willing to just be like, "Hey, I understand there's some like slavery happening here, but like it's not my business. I just want to go. Like I just want to get. Like I just came out here to party a little bit because my life sucks. I'm depressed, and I'm therapy in a bottle. This shit. I just want to deal with it, and by not dealing with it." Lobo comes out there and he has a great line, right? Like, I don't kill because I like it. I don't kill for sport. I kill for money. I'm here because I'm taking that dude's head back to somebody who's going to pay me for it, right? Like, I don't do this shit for free and for fun. This is a job. I get some kicks out of it because why not? If I'm going to do it, I might as well have fun. Yes, and I'm an uncouth, bikery badass with a hook. Okay, and I murdered an entire planet of my own people. I've got shit less to care. I'm a god. They're not Clark, right? And I thought that they did a really good job with both of these actors and both of these characters doing that because it does triangulate these characters, right? So, and if we're really still trying to figure out who Clark Kent is in this universe, which I think this movie also played into, you get those aspects of Superman. That triangle's pretty cool, right? Because you also have to remember that this is a new version of Superman, right? His parents didn't send him away to not only just save him and to grow up and be a good, wholesome person, they apparently sent him to conquer a planet and be a sex king, right? Like, okay, but he's not, right? But Kara's family actually sent her away for the reasons that we would have thought that Jor-El would, right? Like, so Kara's, in our brains, Kara's family takes that spot and still leaves her to, that exacerbates that loss, right? Clark is lonely. Kara's grieving. That's a big difference. And I feel like that vacuum that she has compared to the loneliness that Clark has, compared to what you have Lobo being, really makes you appreciate the richness in all of these characters, not only in the film but also just in the comics in general, right? Like I think it's a cool kind of prismatic effect on how we contextualize those figures. Again, for me, this movie was not Endgame. This movie was not Dune. This movie was not genre daring to be an auteur film. Right? I love those. I do think genre films can be auteur. I mean, we're getting another werewolf movie that's going to be done in a really cool way. Like we're seeing a resurgence of genre to be taken seriously that are wanting to be Oscar contenders. That's not what this is. It's not what it wanted to be. It's not what it felt like. So that's where I land on it. I want to go see it again. Roger's new favorite superhero is Crypto. So like he said, he's like, I don't give a shit about any of the rest of the stuff. I just want more Crypto superhero movies. Like, give me the Pet Avengers, which he didn't say that because he doesn't know what they are because he's not that kind of nerd. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie for what it was like that, and that made it great.
Okay, well, we've talked a little bit about the source material, which is the Woman of Tomorrow miniseries,
Mm-hmm.
and I know I'm in the extreme minority of somebody who did not like it. Um, and that's not like Tom King hate. Like I like almost everything else he's done. I liked Heroes in Crisis, and that had an incredible amount of
Yeah.
detractors. I think some of it comes down to that there are certain types of characters that I have such an aversion to that um, it colors how far I'm going to enjoy something. Um, like point of order. In the early 2000s, you had a ton of TV shows that had um, the charming but not charming lead. Like House and Monk.
Oh
Yeah.
They were all
yeah.
like weird. Uh-uh. Nope, that's not for me. And characters like Ruthie or a counterpart Maddie Ross in True Grit, um, that's another character I have a complete aversion to. You
Hmm.
just want to smack her from like the first scene that she's in. Um, doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the hell out of the second True Grit, you know,
Yeah.
and saying something that you said, Caleb, with I think we are in a period where we're getting some really good performances by child actors.
Yeah.
Thinking of Hamnet last year. Oh my God, just some really good performances. And I thought the actress that played Ruthie was fine. She hit the notes that you needed to. I do agree that I almost agree with you about the whole thing about like the wanting the cerebral epic, the Dune type. Um,
I don't think that's all of it.
yeah,
But
I don't think that's all of it, and I don't know how many people going in had that expectation. Um, the thing is, this was a popcorn movie and with some heart,
yeah.
and uh, I don't think I'm in the camp with you guys of like last year I saw Superman 4 times in the movie theater. I have not seen a movie that many times in probably 30 years in the theater. Whether I'll see this again or not, I don't know. You know,
Yeah.
Hmm.
it, it didn't register with me to that level, but few films do. Like
Hmm.
very
Yeah.
few films do. Um, I thought that Amelia Alcock had an engaging personality. I do think that some of the criticisms that um, another vehicle may have spotlighted some of her strengths more. I do think that's valid, given some of the things we've seen her in before. Um,
So you're saying a different character or
Not a different character, just a different story. You
okay,
know,
gotcha.
that
Yeah.
may have had, because um, it's a little choppy, the things she goes through. It's a little choppy. One thing I loved, though, I absolutely loved with this dynamic, with this story, where she ends up at the end made perfect sense after going through this journey, and that was one of the elements that could not have been part of the source material
Right.
that I thought, oh, that's perfect. That's an absolutely perfect mode. Um, I thought there were enough scenes in the first Superman film that Crypto in Distress was a bit of a retread, you know,
Yeah. Sure.
um, that I don't. But at the same token, like without that element, I don't know what you don't have a story. You
Hmm.
don't have the full story. I am gonna disagree with Steve in that yes, Lobo was kind of superfluous as a character, yet as a mechanism to show that there's a bigger universe out there and that the Supergirl can fit into that universe of characters that already have established histories, that with like just world building we haven't seen yet. I thought he was the perfect character to do that.
Hmm.
And I do agree that Jason Momoa was born to play this character, probably had the time of his life doing it too.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
when he's on screen, um it's great. And also, I think with the way that the storyline was presented, when he comes in, the points where he comes in, it's much needed. It's much
Hmm.
needed. It disrupts the story to some degree, and it's a necessary disruption. I thought the jail scene was perfect. That was probably my favorite sequence in the movie,
Hmm.
because it did show what Ruthie is made of and um, who Lobo is. You know,
Yeah.
Hmm.
um, so there were a lot of things I liked about it. I definitely come on the positive side of this. I don't want to come off as somebody uh, that's not telling people to go see this. Go see this. It's a very good popcorn movie. But at the same token, you do have scenes, particularly involving the flashbacks, where you're gonna get, you're gonna get the feels a little bit,
Yeah,
and I think
a
that
little bit.
really, yeah, a little bit. I don't think it was, I don't think it
Hmm.
was, swamping. It wasn't terms of endearment, but sorry. Now, terms of endearment in space. Now I want to see that film.
Stu
But
Magnolia's in space.
So,
I can
Bill,
fly all the way to Jupiter and back, but my daughter can't.
Yeah, I just want to hit somebody with a laser beam just so that they
Here,
feel as
shoot
bad as I did.
easy.
Here, shoot Lobo. Yeah. Oh boy, there we got ideas.
Bill,
But
I have
yeah.
I was going to say I have a question on some of this though. So one of the what those scenes established too, especially in relation to Kara, everybody in outer space seems to know Krypton and know Kryptonians and know what happened and
Mhm.
understand that hey, these are what make these people weak and bad, and these are what gives them strength. Was that relatively common? I mean, like I number
Um.
one, I thought that Krypton did not have a space program because they that was part of the deal that they outlawed space travel or some
Yeah.
shit,
As
right?
time has gone on, the key planets like Thanagar and Ran,
Yeah,
um, wherever the hell Starfire's from, they have made references to Krypton in and out over the last 30 years. So I do think that that's one retcon that has kind of uh, laid its season is now well established that people
yeah.
know about what happened to Krypton and that there was interaction, you know, with um, with other planets. Um, those are some of the more interesting stories involving Krypton. Whether there were off-worlders or what happened to lost tribes and stuff like that.
Well, the
Argo
Daxamites.
City's Argo
Yeah.
City's own trajectory has changed a couple of times, and I thought visually, I thought the Argo City sequences
Thought
were
it was cool.
dynamite.
The
Like
red,
really.
I mean, just the coloring in there, the
Hmm.
red leaves being a constant motif, just really cool.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, the whole, how many people know about Krypton thing. I mean, we are going to be introduced to Brainiac, so potentially we could be introduced to Kandor.
Hmm.
So presumably there have been, people who have heard of these weird Kryptonians or have encountered them throughout history. Because I think canonically within this universe, it only blew up 30 years ago, 32
Yeah.
years ago. So you know, uh, potentially there have been people who have known and encountered the Kryptonians before. Um, Whether or not they understood that, kryptonite does stuff, I don't know how they
Right.
figured that out. That would have been probably, hanging out with Lex Luthor, like, hey, we
Yeah,
got this stuff,
but
you should buy it too.
but even going into going into the weeds about this, you
Mm-hmm.
didn't have to have any prior knowledge about
No, I don't think you
Krypton
did.
at all. I thought
Yeah.
they
No.
handled that all very economically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a throwaway line that's not a throwaway line. Um, Talking about Jor-El and
Yeah.
his intentions, um, I, I thought, like, to me that's a mark of a well-crafted film, a
Mm-hmm.
well-crafted franchise film. In that you you don't need Wikipedia to see it,
Yeah.
And I thought that it it, uh, it definitely succeeded there. You didn't even need the cameo at the end of the first Superman film to know what this character was like 5 minutes into the film.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that
Um,
I thought it's and that's where again it succeeded more than it didn't.
yeah. Percy
Yeah,
here. Hey, Percy, thanks for joining. I wanted more Lobo action. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I
but in a Lobo film, you
in
know,
a Lobo film, yeah. I
yeah,
mean, that's the thing. Or maybe in a different property that was more following his story. I don't know. This is a
I
for
think
me. I didn't think that he necessarily belonged in here, but he did play a function
Yeah.
Especially in the final confrontation that otherwise would not have been there. Um,
Mhm.
I think the danger with putting, and I say that word, and that's a weird word to use for this, right? But like from just a story aspect, the worry there is probably a better phrase. If you have too much Lobo, considering the power differential and the issues and stuff, you run the risk of it being perceived as all of a sudden we go from Kara being the protective force to Ruthie to Kara being the sidekick to Lobo, right?
yeah.
Like because that's a
Yeah.
very
I
strong
don't think we were.
character.
I never felt we were in.
No,
No,
I
no,
don't. I
no.
don't
We
think.
didn't
No,
go
no,
that way.
no,
No,
we
no, no.
didn't. Right. That's what I'm saying. I think if you add more Lobo, you have too much of that. It becomes the Kara and Lobo show, and not the Kara and Ruthie show.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's, and I think that, and from a story element, you need Ruthie there, and you need like that for that kind of journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that gets disrupted if
I
it's the
mean,
Kara and
and I
Lobo.
thought they handled that well. That
I do too. Yeah,
Lobo's a
I
presence,
absolutely
but
do.
he's never a protagonist.
Right.
Yeah.
That
He's an
yes.
example to Ruthie. That's so I took Lobo in this, especially in that jail scene, which I also do really like. He's an example to Ruthie. You've got Kara, who's clearly emotionally damaged and is still suffering with her memories, and that's kind of coloring how she approaches life. Versus the equally cynical and just sort of like nonchalant Lobo, but he's sociopathic. He doesn't have any feelings. He doesn't have any emotions. He doesn't care about anything. So, these are two very different paths that she could take, but she doesn't have to take either one of them. And I think that's, the message that Supergirl is telling her the whole time. It's like, look, don't be like me. Don't be like him. You have another option. You've had
Mhm.
tragedy. Your family's dead and gone. You can't bring them back. But if you go the extra mile and kill the person responsible, then you're going to have that hollow feeling forever. You wouldn't
Yeah.
be able to find another way other than more death to fill that gap, that void in your life. Uh, or if you just go Lobo's direction and just cut off your emotions completely, you just become a psycho, and everything about you that is good will be gone. So you can either suffer and just be mopey and cynical forever, or you can just be a horrible person, or you can be something else. And
Yeah.
that's the choice that Kara
Like
gives her.
Batman, you could just be
Yeah,
Batman,
you could just be Batman. Although
you know,
Batman's a really sad
who
guy
doesn't kill because
sometimes.
if you murder a murderer, there's still the same amount of murderers in the world,
Yeah.
or some shit.
Well, but what if you kill multiple murderers? Then you're
That's
still
always. I
one
mean, that
person.
math never did math. I was fine with it. It was like you just gotta.
Like it's good if you only kill the one murderer, but if you kill two, then now you've
And
actually
there's
decreased
a
the total
deficit there.
overall
You've
number.
succeeded.
You
You just have to
succeeded in
have
reducing
follow
the
through.
overall number.
That's the real problem with Batman is he lacks follow through. It's holding him
Yeah,
back.
that and sometimes when the neck doesn't move properly.
Yeah, that's an issue.
That's pretty tough. That cowl can be really stiff. Um, but yeah, the one thing that kind of that I was hoping to see, and I understand why they couldn't do that and why they couldn't be closer to Woman of Tomorrow is because there's too much there.
Yeah.
There's
Oh
too many
yeah.
planets. There are too many circumstances that they have to go through to kind of make this journey, and it's a very lengthy quest
Yeah.
that they go
No,
on.
they had to distill it. Or
Absolutely.
they
But
had
one
to
thing I
distill it.
do appreciate is the bus. That they kept the bus. And yes, they kind of like compacted some of the scenery a little bit, but how goofy and ridiculous being on the space bus was for Supergirl and Ruthie, it just shines. That's one of my favorite sequences in the entire movie is the whole bus sequence and the drivers, the team of drivers. I believe is that Seth Rogen. I think who is one of the smaller drivers. Who is
Oh,
the smaller driver, the little CGI guy?
I yeah, I
I think
didn't
so. It
check the
sounds like
credits.
him.
It sure sounds like him. Some funny lines. Some very funny lines.
Hilarious!
Yeah.
Just goofy and silly, and just everybody like there's that weirdly shaped alien who's knitting.
Yeah.
There's a guy who's throwing up because he's space sick into this barf bag that's completely inadequate for the amount of vomit that he's creating. Like there's just all sorts of goofy little things here and throughout, and you just get to
Yeah.
see the creativity in their art department and their creature designers just to kind of showcase all of these really wacky some humanoid, some not, that they encounter in this one sequence. Um, but yeah, I just think that there's a lot of creativity here, um, and because of that, I know he didn't write it and I know he didn't direct it, but there is a James Gunnish
Yeah.
feel to it
Hmm.
that you would experience in Guardians of the Galaxy, where you have a lot of wacky aliens, a lot of wacky, interactions with these space, different space cultures and things that usually are done for comedic effect. And that is the case here too. One other thing that's very James Gunnish is a pretty cool soundtrack. Although I think one of the biggest complaints that I heard was that they didn't have the Blondie cover that everybody's heard from the trailer.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were kind of sad about the fact that where's that Blondie cover? I really wanted to hear that.
I didn't think the musical choices were nearly as successful as Superman. Nearly as successful.
Well, not nearly as successful. And actually, Superman, didn't they have 2 original songs that were done for that too? Or was it just one?
I'm not talking about the original songs.
So just the general soundtrack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
I'm not talking
soundtrack
about
to
the
me, and
original
I think I agree with Bill a little bit. Like I thought it was really so I'm somewhere in the middle. I thought the soundtrack was good and fine. To
The
me,
middle.
yeah,
Okay.
it was very tropey, and what I mean by that
Oh,
is
yeah.
it was trying to be very James Gunnish, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
James
Yeah.
Gunn does this thing. Let's mimic that because it's kind of a signature thing, and we're gonna do it. But I don't think so. Number one, it was not anywhere nearly as effective as what James Gunn did in
No.
Guardians at all. But then again, Guardians 1 is better than Guardians 2, and then Guardians 3 I think is actually done better. I don't know. Guardians 1 is amazing.
I would agree with you. For me, the order would be 1, 3, 2.
1, 3, 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
probably right. Yeah. And then what he did in Superman, I don't think was as good as Guardians. So like take it for what you will, but I think it felt like a very much like, hey, this is a trope now, so we're going to play into the trope, and that to me, I think they could. It's a different filmmaker, so I do think that they could have given it some separation. But again, I think it depends on what you want to see from the movie and like what kind of vibe you're looking for too. Again, you liked the bus scene. That's a great example.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the bus scene. I thought the bus scene was really fun. I thought it gave a good, like you said, a good kind of global feel, a good metro feel. That this is actually just the universe is one big city. A very Star Wars feel, right? Like I thought that was cool. What I loved best about the source material and what I loved best about this movie were the more Western scenes, right? You are more isolated. It is sparse and stark, and the nature is a danger, right? Like
Yeah.
I could have just had the whole movie be that, and I'd have been happy clappy. I'd have been like, this is fucking awesome, right? Like this is space cowboys, man. This is what I'm looking for. But again, it's a broader world. So again, I think it's just it's a stylistic choice. I don't have a problem with any of it. But you could have given me the spaghetti western soundtrack for this movie, and I think that would have been more effective for what it is.
The best of Ennio Morricone, yeah.
Yeah, that's just or not. Maybe instead of doing classic rock, you did some other type of version of a classic tune, um, done
More
different.
covers,
I don't
more
know.
fun
So like,
covers. I
yeah,
mean, I think that was the disappointment around the Blondie cover because it was, it was a good mix of that song, and it fit with
Yeah.
the preview,
yeah,
with the trailer. But
But
there
also
wasn't a
do
lot
keep
of
in
that
mind
done.
she is wearing a Blondie shirt for a
yep,
lot of the film.
Yes,
So
yes,
there is connected
they
tissue.
do make an appearance in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean I do agree. I don't think the soundtrack was as curated
Yeah. And
as
I
the
think
other.
the reason where there is disappointment is because it was clear that we're going for that Superman effect
yeah.
for songs like Punk Rocker. So, they were going for that, and I don't think it succeeded
No.
nearly as well. No.
I liked it, so.
I liked it.
But yeah, that's fine. So
Steve, I just want to circle back because I don't know if you mentioned a disappointment or a surprise with something at the end that you wanted to
yeah,
address.
that's exactly what I was going for.
right,
So the end of this, and we can get into the comic a little bit too. We can dive into that a little bit later, but the end of this one was interesting, in that, in the comic, Ruthie is given the opportunity to murder Krem, to kill Krem at the end. Supergirl is busy; she's beating up the brigands, and here's Ruthie, who can at any moment can just take out Krem's head, just whoosh, lop it right off. At the end of this film, same thing. There is that moment where Ruthie's like, I have the sword, I can do this. And then she decides not to. Specifically, she decides not to. In the book, you understand there's a lot more struggle. She actually tries multiple times to kill him and just can't because something is holding her back inside. And then Supergirl shows up and says, yeah, hold on here. We can't do this. In the film, Supergirl's like, you can't do this. And then as soon as Ruthie's out of visual, out of range, she kills Krem. She's stabbed and she's dead. Spoilers. I told you we were gonna have spoilers.
Yeah.
Where in the comic there's that, and it's very funny. I thought the comic ends on a comic note.
A little bit, yeah.
Where, literally, because they bring him to justice by throwing him into the Phantom Zone for several hundred years, and they pull him out at the end. Supergirl is now Superwoman. She is, definitely much older. Ruthie is much older, and Krem is this decrepit little old man. I'm not sure about how time is working here, but it doesn't really matter. He's been in the Phantom Zone for what he feels is hundreds of years. And she basically is like, well, here he is, and he's going to be apologizing. Now he's able to apologize to you, and he does. He's like, well, please forgive me. And Ruthie just takes her cane, whacks him upside the head, and just wanders off. And then Supergirl and Krypto go, skip it off. And it's just, and Krem's like,
Yeah. Well, how could that have worked cinematically?
It couldn't have. It couldn't have at all.
Yeah.
And that's where, because certain things hadn't been established. We don't have a Phantom Zone, projector anywhere that we've seen so far. So,
but it's not
can't
just
throw him in
that.
the Phantom Zone. Can't throw him in the Phantom Zone.
Yeah.
This is a Supergirl who isn't as established. There isn't this lore that's established yet. So in this,
she's not a
universe,
hero.
we can't do it.
At this point, she's not a hero.
Yet. Yeah, she's not. This is her first real.
That's what's next.
Yeah, heroic situation.
Yep.
And so for this one, it's just sort of like, okay, well, she is at this point in her life where she's just going to murder him because she needs to make sure that he can't hurt anybody else. He's hurt so many people,
and
he's hurt Ruthie, hurt her dog, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
He just needs to go. She's pragmatic.
Yeah.
But she made sure that Ruthie didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
So.
And again, it goes back to she's not Clark. Like Bill said, she's not a hero. There's plenty of stories though throughout fiction, right, where a hero is a hero not because they make the choice originally, but because they did something that they deeply regret.
Yep.
Right. And I think if they do something with it, people will turn, like, there will be an opinion, because there are a lot of people who are like really upset, like, no, Supergirl just killed that guy. Like, that's like okay, but those same people also love Deathstroke, so fuck off.
I don't think there are a lot of people like blinking about that.
I've seen some, like, there's some people who are like, what is this? She's a super. She shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Well, it's also interesting in the weird psychotic reactions to this. It's the same people that champion the Snyderverse, where Superman killed Zod, saying this isn't appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just being a contrarian. You're just a incel piece of shit. Shut the fuck up. Yeah.
Just to be contrarian. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. I don't
have a problem at all. Not in this universe.
No, I hope that they do something with it in this universe, though, right? I do hope that that's kind of, they get her back to, okay, after spending some time with Clark and realizing what makes Clark so special, she's already dealing with enough guilt. This, she's came out and said, this isn't going to fill that hole. Right, this isn't going to do that, and so she's gonna, like, there's a redemption arc there, and I'm cool with that if they do it. I'm cool if they don't. They'll do
I'm cool if they don't too. Yeah.
I do want to do something with it though.
Fucker deserved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and we really haven't. So we've talked kind of vaguely, because I think you can only talk about it vaguely. But the villain, what I like about this story is we get a lot of sympathetic villains. Like we get a lot of
Yeah.
waxing, exposition about why they're doing what they do, good, bad, or otherwise. And like there's this thing now where, you know, Thanos is kind of sympathetic, right? Like Zemo is kind of sympathetic. Zod is kind of sympathetic. Luther's kind of sympathetic. Like I don't need
No.
this no fucking dude.
I don't see
I don't-
Luther
No,
at
no,
all.
not-
I don't think Luther was. I,
Yeah.
I think I think in the DC universe
I think
we're getting a different
Smallville
distance.
Luther is.
Yeah, Smallville
Yes.
Luther
You
is
can afford
awesome.
some sympathies too, but
Yeah.
not in any of the film
Yeah.
versions.
But
of
but
it.
I
Yeah.
know, Caleb, where you're going, like the Marvel universe,
Yeah.
almost every single Marvel villain is redemptive and is like, oh yeah, totally justifies why
Yeah.
we're doing these things. They're actually good at heart. The
Yeah.
DC universe has now kind of cut that. I mean,
Well,
we've
I'm
got
okay.
irredeemable
I'm okay.
villains now.
I'm okay with a villain that's not god tier, right? And even
Yeah.
Luther, like he's majorly, just he's Luther. He still is. This villain's not god tier. He's powerful, but he's not god tier. There's not universal stakes at this, and he is forgettable, and he is just a bastard, right? I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
Mhm.
I'm okay. Like I don't need you to give me a reason to think about the villain. No, he's a despicable bad guy that deserved to die. I'm cool with forgetting him. Let's move on to the next adventure. Fuck him. Like he's not worth remembering. We're not going to make a martyr out of him, or
Mhm.
or anything like that.
Mhm.
So I was very cool with that. This just being some vague evil piece of shit that I don't have to kind of quasi
Yeah.
wonder what the motivation is. He's just being hunted, and I'm
Yeah,
okay
why is
with
he? Why is he kidnapping all those women? Why is he so mean? Like I don't,
Yeah.
I don't care if he had a
Where's,
sad
where,
childhood.
where
It's
is this
not even
born
important.
out of? Yeah.
What is his motivation?
What is causing?
Yeah. No,
Maybe
we
they
don't-
can
we don't
all
need
like
that.
understand their trauma together.
There's times
and
we don't
really
need
learn
that.
from it.
Yeah.
No, you don't need
I was going to say
It's-
to the
He's a
notion
comic
that
villain.
that fiction and pop culture is a reflection of the times that you're living in, which I think that in a lot of ways they are. I'm living in a time where I don't need to know the motivation of the villains. At some point, there are just people who are bad,
Yeah.
and I don't. We don't need to get into the psychology of that. I don't need
Yeah.
it. There, like we can call a piece of shit right now.
Oh, we're so potty mouthed tonight.
God.
Strong
Yeah, no,
language for strong
Language,
times.
yeah, language. Yeah. Hey, look, if I get away with saying piece of shit, that's the worst thing I say. We're doing good.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah.
I just want, and completely aligning with what Caleb has been saying. Let's talk a little bit about the reactions even before the film came out to
Yeah.
just the notion of this film being existing.
Yeah.
Just some weirdness with this.
I don't get it.
Well,
You know,
some of it goes to the fact that
I mean, it's naturally
you
an extension of bro culture,
Yeah.
manosphere bullshit.
know, Snyderverse, kind of apologist, which is weird, because I did, interestingly enough, and again, not to say anything against Sasha Kaye, because I think she did a great job in Flash for what that movie was, but I actually saw some. I saw some people posting, "This is my Supergirl," with pictures of Sasha Kaye from The Flash, and I'm like, "Well, that's great. You didn't go to watch or support that film, and you were bad mouthing that film the whole time. So now, because it's connected to the Snyderverse, that you're like, oh yeah, this is how she should look." And it's like,
Yeah.
it was specifically just for that movie. And
there were so many people that were complaining for the sake of complaining. I don't even think
Just
know
to
what
say,
they were
like-
complaining about.
Oh,
you know?
Supergirl's drunk. This is totally is not Supergirl that
Supergirl.
I know. Like this is
Well,
my
like,
Supergirl
but
that I know
even
from
the,
comics.
so I mean, variety, right? Like,
Yeah, I
like,
mean that's the one review that really.
yeah, like saying it's the
yeah.
worst script that's ever been written. Like, are you like? Did you watch Morbius? I didn't watch Morbius because I have a base level of taste. Did you see that shit?
I saw
Like,
it.
you're telling me, objectively speaking, in the world where like gravity still works and we breathe air on Earth, like real life, that you think this was worse than like 40% of the superhero movies that we've survived?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, the thing is with reviews, and this is not a low level reviewer Variety. This is their main reviewer. Basing the opinion of how the character should be characterized, that was a terrible way of putting it, Zanowitz, but working from a template that only has the most basic understanding of the character, the most banal reading of the character, it was weird. It was weird. It was like that was like one of those weird situations where I was like, all right, were they paid to say this? Were they paid to, really necessarily tank, because it just did. It was so off base, and the claims in it were so off base, and of course, you know, Snyder Bros and Manosphere ran with that, like, oh, for Variety. Do you know what Variety usually reports on, you fucking idiots? Um, and oh my god, and I'm sorry for being potty mouth, but I'm just so sick of these these people that just need something to complain about. And this,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, this just was in perfect alignment for that. And
Yeah.
it's a strange time we're in. That we went through um, a long stretch where a comic book movie, whether it was good or bad, was box office.
Hmm.
We went through a fairly long stretch. I think the movie that really, Wonder Woman 84 and Black Widow are exceptions because of the pandemic. Um, but the Marvels kind of killed that notion, and
Well, so
it
Black
also
Adam.
it yeah, but Black Adam's box office was much more robust than
It
that.
did have
Yeah,
pretty good
you know,
box office, but
yeah.
I mean, critically, it got
Relatively, I'm not talking critically, because that's
crushed.
I'm just talking numbers right now. And
Yeah.
yes, critical opinion sometimes can affect the numbers, but not to the extent like it seems the built-in audience now is either they're more discerning or they're more apathetic.
Hmm.
So it's a new place that we're in, and the attacks, primarily on female-led films like this.
Yep.
Um, you know, let me tell you, Toy Story 5 was probably thanking God Supergirl was the next week,
Yeah.
because there was just so much bullshit about that being a female-centered film, that just seemed to dissipate as soon as Supergirl premiered.
Hmm.
Um, it's strange. I mean, you look at the ones that have been successful. Wonder Woman and Wakanda Forever, at that like 750 million mark, and Captain Marvel crossing over that.
Hmm.
Um, Female-led superhero movies can make box office. I'm not
Yeah.
exactly sure why there is this bloodthirsty, you know, these campaigns whenever there's something like this out there,
Yeah.
with these morons who don't seem to understand that. Um, I mean, I'd rather see, like, even if it's a movie I don't connect with, I want to see like it was. I want to see like 6 superhero films in a year, not 2. And I don't think they understand the tightrope they're performing on with
Yeah.
that. Because
It's it,
I don't want to be in a climate where it's too risky to do a superhero film.
yeah.
You know, and
Or
I
to
think
not do the
and
same
we could.
superhero film that's been done before,
Yeah,
over and over and over again.
and also, I mean, it is just a strange time. Like, I still can't understand um, the Mandalorian and Grogu's failure,
Yeah.
relative failure.
No, I
I,
don't
I
get that
don't
either.
understand it. I don't get it. Um,
So I do. I have a theory, and this is just a theory, right? This is just Caleb sat in a room one day and had a thought. But one of the main complaints that I heard about well, yeah, the light bulb. Um, some of the stuff that I've heard about this, some of the stuff I heard about Mando, is that these movies felt more like television shows, right? Like these they had a TV feeling. Well, number one, because they I mean they come from like periodical things, and so I think it's easier to break them up in that way.
yeah, I
This,
think Supergirl, that's kind of valid, because I think most people's conception of Supergirl comes from the TV series, just
I
because
think
the
so.
length
So
of time it was out there.
So
Yeah.
that is what my theory. That's what kind of gave birth to this, though, because I was sitting there thinking, like, what they're saying is that the story feels like should have been, it could have been a TV show, could have been serialized, but they're also saying the quality, like that's what some people heard. Like the CGI look like television. This look like television. I've seen that complaint. Here's the thing: they're not making the case that they think they are. They're not
Mhm.
making the case that the special effects in this are bad, like it should be TV, like it's 1990s or the early 2000s. What they're saying is that the effects for television now are so advanced and so good that it's a cinematic quality, and we're seeing the same thing in movies because now that technology is level. Sure, there's a price point, right? But that technology, they can do both
Yeah.
with digital stuff now, and that's why I think it plays into the fact that okay, and some of this may be subconscious, but I'm paying what $40 to go see a movie. Like if there's two people with popcorn and stuff like that, and I sit down for 2 hours of what looks like I could have watched on my very high definition TV on my
Right.
very good internet with my very
Mhm.
good show and not spent that money. So I think that there's some type of weird correlation there where they're saying, no, if I'm going to go to the movies, you have to blow my mind. Like I want it to be the difference in seeing Avatar and like whatever like else like CW show, right? Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
and whether they know that or not, whether that's a conscious thought or whether that's part of it and it just drives the expectation and stuff like that, I don't know. But that's very seriously what I think some of this stems from with what we see on just popcorn movies. Is it is a lack of wow factor because I get the same level of CGI and wow factor from at home to some degree because they're paying that much for it, right? And I just
Right.
spent more money for 2 hours of the same thing.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, I also think there's a psychology, like it doesn't surprise me that we're still in a situation with that the acts that are at the top musically. There's no bands, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
There's no bands, you know. Sleep Token and Ghost, they've had number one albums. That's it. Um, recently,
Yeah.
and so and I see that as pandemic-y. That there was so much internalization of stuff. Um, that I do think that kind of may play with what Caleb is talking about, because they were kind of forced to have that circumstance, developed an appreciation for what's delivered to you conveniently, and want the films to blow them away. But I don't think I think, like you said, it's the same technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same creators. There's so many big name directors and writers that are just as involved in television as they are with
Yep.
film right now.
Well, same thing. Same thing with
Yeah,
actors. I mean, you see the same actors on
yeah,
TV as well as in the movies now. Michelle Pfeiffer is constantly in things on TV or on streaming, and so I think that's because
yeah.
there's a lot of that blending.
Like there was a time when an actor like Harrison Ford
Would
would
not
Yeah.
do.
never be
Nope.
on television.
Let alone
Never.
a half-hour sitcom drama
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Shrinking.
So
Never.
do you guys remember the speech that Matt McConaughey? I say we're friends, Matt, right? Like Matthew McConaughey. Um,
All right, all right, all
he
right.
made when he won the Emmy for True Detective. Like he makes this very point. Like he makes this point. Like no, we support this, and you're gonna. Yes, I am used to being in film. I am a film actor, not a TV actor, right? Like
Hmm.
television today is being written and being filmed and being produced to such a quality that you are going to get folks who are just as easily on the big screens. These folks doing this because it is good and it is that high level of acting. There's
Mhm.
a value to that.
Hmm.
And I think he said that very eloquently. Of all people, it's going to be all right, all right, all right. Matthew McConaughey
Mhm.
said it the best, and I think he laid out that whole thing that we're seeing, right? Like I think he had his finger on that pulse.
Yeah.
Well,
Also,
I
South
mean,
Street Detective, that was such a good show.
Kirk Acevedo kind of said the opposite, but well, actually the same thing, but from the opposite perspective. He was saying that a lot of the roles that television actors, big name television actors, have come to do for years, including even minor roles and supporting roles, those are now being taken up or the producers are pursuing
Yeah.
film actors for those same roles. So a lot of these, a lot of these big name film actors are taking stuff that traditional TV actors were
Yeah.
taking, and those people are missing out because it's not reverse. It is not, these big name film producers are not looking for TV guys and girls to be on their big screen films. So it is
I don't
kind
know.
of a
Look at Jim Parsons. Like Jim, a sitcom dude who now is in these very serious. Was in a movie about nuclear holocaust, and is getting ready to play another huge role.
Are we venturing a little too far off?
Yeah,
yeah,
probably.
I think so.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, with Supergirl, I mean, especially like it is extremely disappointing. I am going to predict. I'm going to go on a crazy limb here. That's not really that crazy, and say that once it hits streaming, it's going to be a huge hit. It's going to be #1 on HBO Max for weeks because people who have Caleb, like you're saying, people who are just sort of like, I'll just watch it at home.
Yeah.
They're all going to be tuning in when it shows up on HBO
And
Max.
what's
They're
the
gonna be
number
like,
one movie
"Great."
on streaming today?
I have no clue.
Superman.
Is it?
True. Yeah. Well, and then also like a lot of other films that did poorly in the box office this year already hitting streaming and doing big numbers.
I fully admit it. After a point, Masters of the Universe, I'm waiting.
Yeah. It'll be.
Yeah.
It'll be on streaming in about 20 days, probably, if not less, and it'll be huge.
I saw it, but I mean, I'm not one of those people, and I don't go to movies. There are some movies that I'll go because I think you need to see them.
I don't go as much as near. It wasn't uncommon for Rob and I to go every week, and we just don't anymore.
I go to the movies because it's a good, fun date night with my husband. We can go grab fajitas and drinks, go to the movies, have some popcorn, hold hands, and just be outside of our house and not being smothered by dogs, which I love. But it's that date night experience. That's why I like going to the movies. I don't necessarily go to the movies because I need to go to the movies. I need to experience this on a screen that's larger than life. I've got a kick-ass sound system and a big-ass TV. I'm good.
Steve goes to a lot of movies.
I go to a lot of movies, but I'm also an A-list. I'm somebody that you should be applauding every time that you go to an AMC theater.
I did that when I was with you when we saw Disclosure Day. I said,
thank you. A big thank you to our A-list members who can see up to 4 movies a week. Well, anyway,
I'm also like a non-entities of Stubbs member, and I got free popcorn.
Yeah, you're the douchebag they're talking about on the airplane. Like, we'd like to say thank you to all of our premium flyers.
Yes. And all of our preferred
platinum mile
diamond platinum members or whatever they're called now.
Yeah. Steve's over here just like with his throne seat, like, yeah, motherfuckers. This is my house.
It's but it is something like this though. And as somebody who does go see a lot of movies, like I would not have missed this. I would not have missed Supergirl for anything in the theater.
Superhero movie.
Because and it's also Supergirl, and I may not be a big Supergirl comics reader, but there's been some stuff, and especially something like this, the subject matter that this is based on, I'm like, I absolutely would have killed in 2022 to see it on the big screen. So
okay. Since you're talking about Supergirl in the comics, one thing that's like a chestnut for us, it's something we always do when we do talk about a superhero film, is that we make some recommendations regarding past graphic novels or collections featuring the characters that we think people would enjoy. And Steve, I'm going to go right to you because you're basically the right to the pipeline here.
So of course I'm going to be bringing up, because I highly recommend this to everybody, whether you liked Supergirl the movie or not. And Bill is the exception here because he wasn't a big fan of the comic here, but Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King. Bilky, not Bilquis, as I've been calling her this entire time.
Everybody has been calling her Bilquis.
Yeah, I'm glad that they put that little Easter egg in the movie by naming a planet after her and saying explicitly how it's pronounced. So
Bilky
Evely, Mateus Lopez on the absolutely breathtaking colors. And Clayton, I believe it's Clayton Cowles on letters and he did a lot of work, let me tell you, because this is Tom King at probably his wordiest. when it comes to what you can expect to see and read in this. It is told primarily from Ruthie's narration. She tells the story as if she's, relaying an epic poem. So you get a lot of stuff from her perspective, and there is a little bit of that, do we trust 100% of what we're seeing, what Supergirl is saying, how things transpire? But honestly, it doesn't matter whether it's accurate to this world or not. It is a gorgeous, wonderful epic, and you can see some of the moments if you're familiar with the film, where Supergirl kind of takes out some guy at a bar who had stolen Ruthie's sword that she had offered to whoever could hunt down and kill Krem. But it's just fun from the first moment that she's revealed to them going off into space and landing on different planets, some which have really impactful situations that they get themselves involved in. One concerning genocide of differently colored people on a planet, and where looks are deceiving. But the truth is just more terrible than you can imagine. But just, look at some of the, if you're following along on video, the colors, the designs are gorgeous. Supergirl here, Bilky kind of gives her face and her hair a very Silver Age look almost. There is just sort of that classic appearance that meshes very well with a more updated costume that she's wearing. But also, there's some just gorgeous situations here. Supergirl as Phoenix, when she ingests some red kryptonite to fight a blue space dragon. There's also an appearance from Comet, who plays a very pivotal role in a couple issues of this. And you do see, tragically, what happens to Comet, and exactly who Comet is. Comet is not just a magic horse that she rides on. It's actually a cursed man who has been turned into a horse who can fly through space. He's madly in love with Supergirl. So you do get some of that interesting lore in here that really goes all the way back to the 50s and 60s, and just really fun circumstances and tragic circumstances because of what happens. And then, of course, you get this beautiful image. This is, I believe, one of the covers. I think this was the last cover for the last issue, or one of them anyway. But just beautiful, beautiful artwork, implying that she's been through hell, which she has. And there's Ruthie's sword that's right next to her, covered in blood. So, but again, like I had mentioned, the ending is a little bit different, where instead of Krem meeting his final end, he's brought to justice. However that appears, and it is pretty fantastic. And I also love the sort of the future Superwoman costume here that does have the original designs of her belt and the shield, but also she's now wearing pants and boots and has short hair. It's just cool. It's gorgeous. They did have planet Baraton, which is the green planet sun, both in the movie as well as in the comic. And in the comic, that entire issue is just wonderful. Ruthie is the one who has to kind of drag her around and keep them both safe from giant dinosaurs. And that planet itself was created specifically to imprison Superman or to kill Superman. So there's some lore that goes behind that planet and why it's there and how it operates, and why, of course, they know that they can send her there to hopefully finish the deed. But it's beautiful. There's a lot to read. It is extremely dense, but the art is gorgeous and the story is wonderfully emotional. I loved it. Bill, of course, has a very different opinion on it, and he's mentioned it. But for me, I really enjoyed this one.
I'm not telling people not to read it. I just didn't. Yeah. And I have my reasons.
Yeah, we have very different experiences with this particular comic, but I recommend you check it out, because who knows what experience you'll have.
All right. right over to Caleb. What do you recommend for
All right, so
people to listen
mine's
to?
going to be a little bit more abbreviated than that, just because I'm going to talk
Mine is
about,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
an,
yeah,
Yeah.
an entire series. But I want to take you back to 1996, right? So in 1996, Peter David, who's one of my favorite writers, I'm a Hulk fan, right? So like that's just in my wheelhouse. Loved his X Factor, everything. He's great. Peter David took over Supergirl. Now this is and Bill, this is more like your era, your wheelhouse of comics, if I'm not mistaken, right? This is just post
No,
Crisis,
I
right?
was actually not reading comics at this point.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, this is when I was out.
Okay.
Image came, Bill left. Yeah,
Okay. Well, so
yeah.
this is post Crisis. So this is
Doesn't
this
mean
is
I
right,
haven't read them since. So
right
go
after that.
ahead.
So
Yeah,
one of the things that they did in Crisis is they kind of cleaned the slate and got rid of all the super characters, right? All the Kryptonians, because there were quite a few of them. And so when this came back and they gave the character to Peter David, he got his buddy Gary Frank to come along and do some stuff with him. And drew some great Supergirl comics. But this is not Supergirl as you might know her. And this is, if you watch this movie, maybe this is the only connection you have with Supergirl. This is not Kara. This is not her at all. What this character is, it looks at this sentient thing that becomes Supergirl. It's like a shape shifting, alien based
yeah,
quasi life form called the Matrix.
yeah. And
Um,
she did exist prior to this.
yeah, so
Yeah,
so I think
that's important to.
yeah, so it also plays on some former versions of that
Yeah,
character, right? So, but the Matrix is trying to it's a story about identity. The Matrix is trying to find out who, you know, who it is, and so is the character. And so, as she is trying to figure all of that out, she has to take on a persona, right? And she does. And so she takes on a persona that of somebody that we'd seen before, to what Bill was saying, and that has a history in these characters. Kind of bring it full circle. Bill, do you know more about? Because I don't know a lot about that version of the character.
oh, yeah, of Linda
Uh,
Danvers.
yeah, so and
Yeah,
so for me, when I first read this, I actually just read this like 2 years ago for the first time.
yeah.
And when they they mentioned Danvers, I'm like, okay, they're making this a Carol Danvers analog. And then I
Oh
found out,
no, no, no! It's
yeah, no,
well
that's
before. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
no, that I don't hold that opinion. I'm saying when I first read this, not having connection to the character, that's the first
yeah,
thing that popped into my head. Because I think Carol Danvers is a analog of these characters more than anything.
yeah,
But I was like, okay, Danvers, powerful woman who can fly. Okay, Carol Danvers, I'm a Marvel kid, right?
yeah. No. That was
Did some
Supergirl's.
googling. Yeah, did
That was Supergirl's Clark Kent.
yep,
Um,
did some googling and found
almost
that
from her
out.
first
Did
year. Yeah,
not have that baggage going in there.
yeah,
So, but I thought that was a really cool aspect that he brought back, because again, the character in this story is focusing so much in identity, and it's been retconned since then. They brought her kind of full circle and made her more. They made her more like the version of Kara that we've seen. I do think it was an interesting way to introduce a Supergirl character that there was an excuse for her not to be as powerful as Clark. I thought that was interesting. But this is a really fun run. They do sell it in collected editions. You can check it out. I think it went like 46. It went for a long time. Um, and I thought it was really, really weird. It was a weird Peter David story. It was weird not knowing what they were doing with it. Reading this after the fact, not really knowing a whole lot about the fallout of Crisis. Um, Going in with just the idea of, okay, I know who Kara Danvers is, I know who Supergirl is, and I've seen, I live in the world, at that time it was 2024 or 2023 or something like that. So I had a lot of Supergirl baggage, but nothing based out of this era. And it was just a fun, odd story. And in a lot of ways, it was kind of Witchblade-y. I thought cool with like the sentientness of who the suit is and stuff like that. So go check this out and just like be very willing, if you're reading it for the first time now in 2026, be willing to like open up your world to what this character could be, right? Because it's not the bread and butter that you're used to with a super character, I don't think.
Well, I remember this era very much just for the young Lex Luthor with a full head of hair and a big red beard, who I guess was the supposed to be an Australian version of Lex Luthor, a clone or something, or the younger version of him with hair.
It was
something
his
like that. There
son,
was
but it wasn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was his son, but
Yeah.
it wasn't his son. Who was kind of Matrix's handler. Like he was helping her out. He was kind of a mentor, kind of also
But by
her
the time
boss.
that's all gone, by the time this series starts.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
that's all gone.
Yeah, but that's a. I mean, from what I recall of Matrix, like that's pretty much all I had read of it. Which having a big ginger bear version of Lex Luthor is always fun.
And it's good
Yeah.
Gary Frank art.
And
Yeah.
actually, Caleb, the run went much longer than you think it would. Went 80 issues.
I was gonna say it went like 13 years, didn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And you know how we've talked about on the convention episodes about sometimes we're on the lookout for the, full runs,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, David unofficially continued this story in a series called Fallen Angel, which
Hmm.
DC also published, but that's basically what happens to Matrix Linda after the events of Supergirl number 80, in an unofficial capacity. He's done that before. Uh, there was a series Haven that he wrote that basically is a continuation. Called Psyman, which basically is a continuation of Justice from New Universe.
Okay.
Just names have been changed to protect. I've never read Fallen Angel. I've never read Fallen Angel, and that's one I would be on the lookout for, because I don't, it's not going to make like the DC app. It's,
Yeah.
I think just with his death, I think it's the rights are a little too confused right now.
Hmm.
But that's one thing I'd
So
like to say. That I would like to grab.
so Fallen Angel was actually was about Matrix.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah. And they do deal with issues of divinity as the series goes on, as the Peter David series goes on.
Yeah. Doesn't she become like she finds out that she's like an angel?
She's an
and
angel. Yeah,
Yeah.
Hmm.
the angel that initially merged with Tech, then
Yeah.
merged with a human, and then from there found out what she was.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting.
so I'm taking it after that. So Steve, I do have a graphic here for you if you can stick that up there.
Yeah.
So after they cleared the decks of Matrix, it was time to reintroduce a Supergirl that was more along the lines of the classic Supergirl. And they did so in a series, which was the number one book at the time, Superman Batman. These issues, which were all drawn by Michael Turner, and it's his only DC interior work. It's the only time
Hmm.
he did interiors for DC. Was with an arc called Supergirl, and Batman and Robin find out that there is um, there's a rocket ship that appears to be Kryptonian, carrying a young woman, and because Clark is in a different place than some of the other iterations of Clark, he does know Kryptonian. And it turns out that this is indeed his cousin, or is some girl representing that she's his cousin. The thing is, though, because she has not hit adulthood, she's now been exposed to red sun. There's a possibility that this could become the most powerful figure in the universe, and who's gonna care about that? Dark side. So, in between trying to keep her um, presence quiet and also training her, we go through the initial steps of Kara becoming Supergirl in this story. Harbinger takes a very active role as a protector at Harbinger from Crisis on Infinite Earths, which was kind of a nice nod back to Crisis. The first Kara didn't do too well, and it wasn't good for her. I'll put it that way. So there was kind of a nod there. Wonder Woman and the Amazons have a tremendous role in her training. Diana kind of just like takes over. She's like, I'm not listening to you two. You know, like no, no, we're bringing her to Themyscira. That's the safest place she could be. Not, and again, it's written in Jeff Loeb's style, where at least in Superman Batman, the narrative shifts between the two main characters. to propulse the story. Um, there is a DC original animated movie called Superman Batman Apocalypse,
Hmm.
which tells this tale and does it wonderfully. It's
Hmm.
probably, along with Public Enemies, which was ironically what precedes this. And if you see the credit to Ed McGuinness, he's the artist on that. Um,
Hmm.
it's probably my favorite DC original animated movie. Let me put it that way. And the score is, oh my God, the score is so good in that one. Um, so if you are going to think you might want to explore this and don't have DC Infinite, the Superman Batman Supergirl volume is part of the DC Compact Comics series, and you can get it for a very convenient price. And that would be my recommendation.
And also check out the movie. The
Yeah, check
cartoon,
out the movie
yeah,
too. Yeah,
the animated film is,
and
is a lot of fun.
it's a lot of fun and genuine laughs in it too in the middle of all this. Especially with when they do encounter Big Barda. There's some really funny moments in there. All right. Well, we just wrapped up Pride Month, and now we're in Wrath Month. So now we're in Gay Wrath Month. So, but whether you celebrate Wrath or not, we are in a sense celebrating Pride, looking back, and again, those sometimes, I always mention you don't have to be a hairy, heavy homo. This is for the homos, okay? This this next section is for the homos. Well, we did want to spotlight some books that we think are very important works from queer creators or that have queer content in them. Um, I don't want. I don't think we would like raise this to a level of Mount Rushmore, uh, but books that we think that are for
Should be
comic
on.
readers that everybody should be
Hmm.
sampling. Some are very familiar names, some are not. So we're going to tell you about them. Caleb's going to take a deep dive in one of the newer books, and please, just catalog these recommendations because we do think if you are um, an LGBT identifying person or an ally, yay for the allies there, um, that you might get a lot out of this material. Yeah. So, Caleb, take it away, and especially since this book's kind of in the news too.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So I'll get going on this one. So one of the books that I think, and this kind of predicated on the notion of, this we're on the other side of Pride Month now, but just read this and it was really timely, ironically considering what it is. Um, but I thought it was fun. So it's a new book. It's by an artist I love, by a writer and artist I love, and by somebody who is nationally known as a cartoonist laureate of the state of Vermont. The new book by Tilly Walden, which is called Charity and Sylvia. Um, and this book is if you've read Tilly Walden stuff, maybe you know Tilly Walden from, uh, I don't know, the It's Lonely at the Center of the Universe book, or maybe you know Tilly from the spinoff of The Walking Dead that she's been doing. This book's a little bit different than maybe what you may know. It's a historical biography, right? So it's going way. It's more akin to. Uh, I just I don't really know how to explain it, right? It's more akin to an academic text than anything, even though it's not an academic text and it's published by Drawn and Quarterly. This is about a pair of women, a couple, from the late from the 1800s, like the pre-Civil War area, the birth of the U.S. Um, coming to life, and they they set up shop in Vermont. Right, the whole story takes place in a very singular kind of county because their world is kind of relatively small, so to speak, and it takes place in Waymont, Vermont, or Waybridge, Vermont, excuse me. And these two women come together. A woman kind of moves into town, and she sets up shop for herself, and she comes with a history and some baggage, and people know her as being a woman who's been around women too much, who may have done things. She's been known to be queer to some degree. Um, Long story short, because we don't have all night, all right? she moves in. She meets her partner, and they develop a relationship. And throughout their relationship, they move in together. There's always the whole aspects. Oh, their sisters are going to be spinsters, but they don't present themselves as that, right? They actually hold themselves out as companions, as a couple. They open up a business together. They open up a tailoring shop, and have a pretty productive business. They spread that out. They start basically a company. They buy property together. At a time where women couldn't really buy property in their own name, they found a workaround for it. They knew each other's families, sometimes begrudgingly so, and there were always issues there. But they were very active in their community as a couple. They went to church. They sat on the back pew, but religion played a huge role in their lives. Uh, the onset of the Civil War and how that looked and felt in their world plays a big role in this. Um, and this is kind of a singular event. Like, this is the oldest, at least that I'm aware of in U.S. history, one of the oldest documented cases where two people of the same sex lived together, held themselves out in a relationship, and were allowed to grow old together and be part of their communities and stuff like that in a very functional way. So Tilly Walden, wrote and drew this based on, I think at some point in the 1930s, their nephew published a bunch of letters. And then this has also been studied, and there's also been, as we will talk about here shortly, several other academic texts and people who are scholars of queer theory have looked at this. And so Tilly takes these things and tells this story. Um, and it's absolutely fascinating. The artwork is gorgeous. I don't have any interior pages to throw up here. It was a busy day. I just didn't get those sent to Steve. But the interiors are fantastic, and it's told in there's not a lot of broad sweeping double page spreads. A lot of it is going to be just kind of standard 6 panel, 12 panel storytelling, and those beat by beats. Very thin line, as Tilly's style is used to, throughout the life of these women. And then there's some ephemera and stuff in the back matter where they kind of tell stories. They talk about letters that were written to themselves. It's an epistolary comic, right? And I think that that's very, very interesting and neat. So here's where today we discovered that this book is actually in the news, right? It is making this rounds, and not necessarily for particularly good reasons, right? So one of the scholars, now that this book has been in the news, and there's been some interviews that Tilly has done, and it's came out. A scholar has came forward, and she's one of the main scholars. Her name is Rachel Hope Cleaves, who published a biography that's also got the same name as this. It's Charity and Sylvia. She came out and said, "Hey, um, Drawn and Quarterly contacted me when Tilly first started doing this book and was talking about it. Um, Never really contacted them back, but now that there's been interviews done, I was under the influence that this was kind of an adaptation of my work, and it reads like an adaptation of my work. And I've got an email where Tilly's saying, 'Hey, I'd like to adapt your work, more or less.' Um, but I'm only barely credited in this. Like, I'm only mentioning a snippet, and then she's not talking about it in the interviews. And I wasn't going to come out and say anything or make a big stink about it, but now I kind of feel like I have to, because rightly or wrongly, this academic, this person who's done this heavy research and work, kind of feels like she's being ripped off. Like, she kind of feels like she's being plagiar. She doesn't. I haven't read where she's used the word plagiarism, but that's what it seems like she's kind of insinuating, or at least she's accusing Tilly Walden of some degree of academic dishonesty in the way that this work is being presented. Now, Tilly Walden, based off what I could tell as of today, has not responded to this, but Drawn and Quarterly has, because essentially the case that's being made by Cleaves is that all of this book is predicated not off of my book as a footnote and then all of these other works. Like, everything that she's done, she's tracking what I mentioned in my book as far as how has this research has been done, right? And it all kind of seems to funnel down and stem from my work. Like, and this is almost a beat by beat adaptation. I haven't read that book. I can't tell you if that's true or not. But she certainly is taking umbrage with the fact that she was not credited in the way that she should have. been in this book, or at least the way that she feels. I'm not taking a stance on this. I'm kind of just reading the
Can I
news.
just amend that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah, please
She's
do.
also taking um, uh, umbrage with the book's creator not giving her due in interviews.
Yeah, right.
That is also a component of her
Yeah.
upset. Yep.
And I think, like I said, in saying what I just said, I was not making a judgment call.
Right, right.
Just kind
I
of
don't
reading
think
the
it
news.
came across that way at all.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to make
But
sure.
I
So,
think that was important because she does promote in her statement,
yeah,
that she's so happy that this story is getting out there, and that tempered, that basically delayed her response in that because
yeah,
she had genuine excitement that this story is reaching a larger audience.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct. And so, and I understand where that's coming from. I really do. Drawn and Quarterly, like I said, has put out a statement. They've come out and said that's not the way that we viewed this. Like, one of the things that Greaves has said is like, hey, in these different chapters, there's certain places where I ought to be cited. And what Drawn and Quarterly came out and said, hey, this is not an academic text, right? There's no footnotes in this. We weren't doing that. And if we were to put in everything, the citations that Tilly did, it would make this book like too unwieldy, right? It wouldn't be a Barnes and Noble book or whatever on the shelf there. What they had, what
Unless it
Tilly,
was Roy Thomas.
well, yeah, right, like, no joke, yeah. Um, what they are saying is that what Tilly did is Tilly instead made a website, right? And it's named after the book, right? It is charityandSylvia.com or something like that, where you can go and she has a full bibliography of everything that she did. And they also said, well, Tilly's free to respond. We also have notes and emails where Tilly, yes, read your book, acknowledged that she read your book, listed your book as a primary source, but then also spent days at at one of the archives, right? Like it spent days traveling around. Didn't go to as many places as Greaves says that she did in researching her novel and stuff. Maybe Tilly didn't need to because Greaves' book exists. But she certainly did due diligence and went and did research beyond just reading, or at least claims to. I want to make that clear. I'm not like I was not like carpool buddies in this adventure. Um, you know, Tilly certainly makes the case that no, I did my own research for this. Not like you were a primary source, and I didn't mean to slight you. Or I'm assuming that's the way. That is what Drawn or Quarterly is saying. That they've got the receipts on that. This is not the type of book where there needed to be a full bibliography after each section. It's not what they were going for, and that they make the case that she is mentioned, she is credited. So whatever. I have no idea if any legal case will come through this. I don't think that there will be because I really don't feel like there's much legal grounds for like a copyright infringement or anything like that. But from an academic sense, yeah, I think there's certainly grounds for saying, hey, you should be mentioning my name whenever you talk about this work, and it really does feel an adaptation. Now, what she's asking for, she's now asking for Drawn and Quarterly to go back and license this as an adaptation of her book, right? Because that's not what's
Mhm.
done, and I don't know that they will. I don't think that they will, but I don't want to be like part of me wants to jump out and go, hey, I've read a bunch of Tilly Walden stuff. I have faith that Tilly Walden is an honest person and does her own research and stuff like that. But part of me is not wanting, like the academic part of me and the attorney in me is not wanting to dismiss that. I think that there's a valid criticism here, and that when we're talking about these, these epistolary comics, when we're talking about maybe work that Peter Bagg, and I was trying to think of Peter Bagg's name earlier and I just couldn't. Peter Bagg does a lot of amazing historical biography work, right? There's some really good stuff being done. Maybe when these things, and I think Bill, you said it best earlier. I'm going to quote you if that's okay. There's not a lot of daylight between this and some of those more academic comics or academic text, and maybe that we do need to have a broader conversation of accreditation when we're doing this type of work,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? So
And
think
the
that's that.
work that I cited was Durf's Kent State book,
Yeah,
Mhm.
which has the annotations in itself is a book in and of itself.
hmm
Yeah.
It's that element is remarkably well handled, and there's certainly are other works as well.
so the book
That
I thought about maybe to a lesser extent was the Fifth Beatle, right? Because some of that is just like let's make a narrative of this, but some of the Fifth Beatle
Yeah,
work is absolutely predicated on what people have studied and looked at
yeah,
from
but
the good Epstein.
it's also that's also like such a more widely known tale.
Yeah,
I didn't really factor that in because they um, But then again, I'm also like a Beatles nut, so
Yeah.
for me, what isn't a deep dive might be a very deep dive for somebody else.
Right.
It's interesting that you brought that book up. Yeah.
But
Well,
it's
yeah.
worth mentioning the controversy. Sorry, Steve.
Yep.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I think probably Tilly did herself a little bit of a disservice by keeping the name of the previous publication. If she had called it something different,
Yes.
maybe it probably would have been a little bit easier because as somebody who has read the original book, um, I thought this was a full graphic adaptation of it. To be honest, I
Okay.
didn't think that this was something that would have been somebody else just sort of coming on. It's like, yeah, I used that book as a source, but this is my own thing. I honestly, before even, and I haven't read the graphic novel. When I first heard about this, I was thinking, oh wow, she's commissioned an adaptation of her book, and Tilly Walden's doing that adaptation. Like that's, and I think that could very well be part of an argument. Looking at Drawn and Quarterly to say, hey, maybe you really do need to attribute this. It's also kind of a coulda, woulda, shoulda
Yeah.
for Tilly Walden. If she was going to be cleaving so close, no pun intended, to the book or to a major source work, it probably would have been a good opportunity for her to work very directly, or at least with Cleve to basically say, hey, I want to do an adaptation of your book. I might add some additional stuff in there, and we can put that clearly, that, hey, this research was done by me, but the way your book is presented, I want to present that, but in a graphic way. And that happens so many times. That happens a lot. A lot of authors get with comic artists or get with other comic creators to produce adaptations of their work, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. It definitely does happen. And I think those work as a partnership, and it's very clear that it's a partnership. In this situation, it's very unclear that it was not a partnership, and that, I think, could be a bit of an issue from a legal standpoint, but you guys are the lawyers, so I don't know. Yeah, it's too bad because I'm really looking forward to reading this anyway, so I will be getting my own copy to see the cartoon, like to see the comic art of this.
I mean, it is too bad. I would like to see Graves and Tilly both on the stage talking about this, right? At a panel. I'd go to that panel at a con, and I don't know that that's going to happen now because I'm assuming there's some degree of bad blood here. Like, well, maybe more so with Drawn and Quarterly. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, because I mean, to get the two of them up there to talk about this, like at a con, would have been great. I would have loved to hear both of their insights, like doing the research, presenting these two women, and their lives in the way that was presented in
also,
both the book and the comic.
Drawn and Quarterly is like one of the least corporate comic corporations out there.
Yeah.
And
I love their stuff.
I really don't think that they would want to be part of any controversy.
No,
I don't think that they do. Yeah,
I
know.
Though there have been works that they've certainly published in the past that have had controversies associated with them, or the terrain that the book actually
but that's
covered.
different than.
But that's different from how D&Q operates.
Yeah. They do put out some good work.
They absolutely do. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
it's worth putting on your bookshelf.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's a very nice. That's a very nice segue. So, Caleb, why don't you tell us about 3 other books that you think we may want to recommend that people put on their bookshelves? And just in the interest of time, we may have to whittle this down a little bit. I think it might be fair to each of us. Maybe we'll spotlight one of the 3 works. We talk about a little more than the other 2, and we can still get this episode done at a decent time. Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. Coming out of Pride Month, right? Now that I love Wrath Month, right? Where Pride Month Part 2, Queer Boogaloo, whatever you want to call it. As comic fans, as people who love this, I personally think that we all ought to have a queer comic shelf or 2. And so there are some books that I think should be on your queer comic shelf, and that's kind of what these are. Starting with like one of my favorites, Howard Cruz's Stuck Rubber Baby. this book is amazing. If you haven't read it, it is fantastic cartooning. It's a story about a gay man during the civil rights movement. He falls in love, deals with family drama. It is absolutely gorgeous. Do not skimp on this book. Also, a really good example of how to talk about race relations or how to write about race relations as a white dude and not feel like you're like trying to steal some thunder, so to speak. Great book. One of at least
Can I just interject here? Can I
Mhm.
just interject with this?
Sure.
You're showing the copy that came out from Vertigo. The one that I think is in print right now is the 25th anniversary edition. So
Yeah, that's
just
the
if
one I
people
have.
are looking for
Yeah.
this and it has a wildly different cover, don't get thrown on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
There's there's at least there's at least seven major differences in trade dress, and
Mm-hmm.
also worth mentioning that Howard Cruz is a landmark
yep.
creator in terms of queer comics.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Go look up his history. Also, seriously, would love just to own a page out of that. Um, the other two people I'm going to talk about also landmarks of queer comics history. Steve, which graphic you got up next? I'll go with you. All right, so
Mm-hmm.
Alison Bechdel, right? You probably know Allison from Fun Home, but before before Fun Home, Allison was doing comic strips and did a series called Dykes to Watch Out For. It is it is hilarious. It focuses on queer lesbian tropes of all degrees, right? But it also centers women, and that's I think that's very important work. I've got a stack of Alison Bechdel on my shelf. All should be read. But if you want strips and really funny strips, go check out Dykes to Watch Out For. And then
Oh yeah.
last but certainly not least, and I say that because I've got the artwork on my arm, is the Cocky comics, published by Taschen, but of course this is Tom of Finland, right? And these are the very sexual comics that Tom was producing at a time when it absolutely could have landed in jail. It is a very important landmark in not only queer comics but also the First Amendment, and just happens to be very much my cup of tea. Uh, so you can get this collected edition. I honestly can probably show you 2 pages in this book, and I can. It's some sex, but it's smut, and it's wonderfully done smut, and I commend it for existing. And like I said, it's on me, because I care that much about it.
Nice. Okay, Steve, over to you. What would your contributions to this shelf be like?
Well, I've got some very specific ones and a few that I've actually been able to get my queer book club to read, which, it's kind of tough to put a graphic novel sometimes into traditional book clubs. But thankfully, each of these, or well, two of these, have gone over really well. Third one we haven't had yet. But, just to start off would be Trung Le Yuen's Magic Fish. The Magic Fish is it's a wonderful tale of a first generation son of two immigrant parents, and just the journey that both the parents that his mother specifically has made, as well as his own personal journey coming into his own age and developing and understanding that he is also gay at a relatively young age. And it's also done through the metaphor of fairy tale. It's beautiful. It's color coded. There's just different colors shown for different stories and different eras. But it's just beautifully done, and I absolutely recommend it for younger readers because it is a YA book, but also for adults because it's beautiful and it's a very emotional read. The next one here is also generally seen for YA readers, but 100% should be for adults as well, and that is Flamer by Mike Corrado. And I know Caleb's talked about Mike's follow-up book, Gaysians, and I've talked about Flamer before, like years ago on this show. This is a story about a junior high kid who's in summer camp and is also realizing and trying to hide the fact that he is gay, or that he knows that he's queer, and is put in these positions and situations that he just are kind of terrifying for a lot of us young queer kids when we're growing up, and we don't want to be put in these compromising positions. We have to hide our identities. We don't feel safe, and this was definitely one of those one of those books that really highlights what that's like, and especially because the main character is also struggling with depression, that it just compounds sort of the fear, the self-loathing, the concern, the worry, that sometimes doesn't have to be there. But it's really hard sometimes for a young person to really understand that there is something that will get better, and that there are allies out there that can that can really support who you are and allow you to be safe and comfortable in who you are, where you are. But it's a beautiful book. It's very moving. It's black and white with some specific color that's used in there. So definitely done to a really great effect. It's a beautiful book. And then finally, for fun, Hamish Steele. Love Hamish's stuff. Dead Endia, which is, I believe, 3-volume series. That's put out by No Brow. Great comic series, and also has been made into a Netflix series, so you can watch that as well. It focuses on a main character who is trans, and works at an amusement park that is crazy and wacky and super queer, and is a doorway to a demonic dimension, possibly hell, maybe something else. And of course, they've got a talking dog. They have their best friend. They have a boy they have a crush on. It's just so much fun. It's super queer, super funny, lots of craziness, beautiful art. Hamish Steele really, is just a fun storyteller, and I absolutely recommend you get volumes 1, 2, and 3
Okay,
for your queer
nice.
bookshelf.
Nice. Okay, so that leaves me, huh? All
Oh
right.
yeah.
All right, so I do have 3 books I would like to recommend. Steve, if I could hold off on the single issue that I brought till
Oh
the end,
sure.
because that's the one I want to expound upon a bit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But whatever you're gonna throw at me here, throw it at me. Which one of the other 2 we got? Okay, so first, the most banned book currently, Genderqueer, a memoir by Maya Kababe, recounts their journey from adolescence to adulthood, and it involves their explorations about finding out who they were through sexual encounters. Um, Again, there is a very much a an exploration. Um, and I mean this sincerely. There were things about gender euphoria and asexuality that, even somebody like me who's, had, a queer identification for some time, there were a lot of things that I learned from this book about people that do consider themselves outside of the gender binary. Very, very important work, and I think it's one that, if you identify as queer in any context, there's something in this book for you to latch onto, and there's a reason why this book has so much notoriety right now, because it's just so damn good.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
so
just
yeah,
on that note, Bill, for what I do for my day job, I think most folks know I'm an attorney, and I do, I'm a quasi government attorney. And who's banning these books? Well, local governments, library boards, and stuff like that. I keep a copy of this on a bookshelf in my office behind my desk for anybody to see who walks in, for the reason that it is so banned, because it shouldn't be. And
no,
for me, it's a First Amendment issue.
no,
Um, so yeah.
it's important to say that. Yep. Okay, Steve, and then the next book, let's hear it for the Bears.
I'll
Okay.
Yeah.
keep this in my
Yeah.
office for different reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Wubble Oath is a book. This is the first volume of it, which collects the original 5 issues from a friend of the show, Ed Luce. And this is basically the tale of the title character Oaf as he searches for love in a city which is pretty obviously San Francisco, though not specifically named. He has a very unique relationship with all the cats that he owns, the dozens of cats. And he also has an extensive supporting cast of characters, and I think this is a testimony to Ed's talents that almost any of them could lead a book themselves. And it is a situation where this one is, I think out of all the books we've noted, apart from maybe Steve's last one, this is in the fun bracket.
Yep.
You know, this is in the fun bracket, and it's important to have those works as well. So there is a second volume to Wobble Loaf, which is almost like, uh, Blood and Metal, which is a separate story. But um, do start from the start with this one and go for the original Wobble Loaf. Wonderful work. And then this last one, this is a book. It's a single issue, and it's only like a 10-page story within this issue. And as a longtime comics reader, it has baffled me why this book does not have more notoriety in terms of queer representation in mainstream comics. Now, there are, this came out in 1987, and prior to that, there was some representation. There's in the early 80s, when Steve Rogers moves back to Brooklyn, he has two neighbors that are an elderly couple that are clearly gay. You had the introduction of North Star in the X-Men. You had the introduction, more importantly, right around this time, of Maggie Sawyer. So things were kind of permeating, and there was other stuff. There's suggestions in Legion of Superheroes and other works. Um, but this story, and you'll see it's, gay icon Dinah is on the cover, but it's not her story. It's actually for the Secret Six. Now, the Secret Six was a concept that started in the late 60s, where it was a team of, you could call them agents, that went on these adventures, and one of them was the actual leader who brought them together, but you didn't know who it was. They were called Mockingbird. This is again, that took place in the 60s. This was a revival that happened in the 80s. Different set of six, but at least the appearance of the same Mockingbird, that brought people together that had, not necessarily superpowers, but certain abilities that really helped certain missions. And you see here, it's with Tony Montana, who is a reporter, and he's in bed kissing a woman who he just rescued. And you'll see very quickly he has hesitation. As we go through the story, though, we learn about what Tony had done in the past. And one time, covering a coal mine, he gets rescued by somebody else, another man. Uh, and though he is injured, it's because of these actions by this gentleman that kept him alive. And it turns out, as we the story unfolds, that um, these two actually fell in love. And there's Tony there being his reporter. And there's language here about he didn't exist anymore. After this particular story and his injuries, he had a better sense of perception, which really helped him in reporting. He could tell when anyone was bullshitting. Um, and this is a woman that he rescued in the previous issue, from a situation, and he's telling her here, just laying it on the line, and it, even touches into his abilities. I hear fear of dying alone, and saying, he understands her, but whatever's happening between the two of them, it isn't love. And as you go on to the last page, we see Tony in a cemetery, providing flowers to a grave. And there's a woman who comes by asking where a particular section of the graveyard is, and Tony knows it well, so he tells her exactly where it is. And as he's walking away, this woman sees a grounds worker, and it says, he's here all the time, to lay the flowers on the grave of his former lover. And you'll see the name there, that's Tom John Pearson, the gentleman that saved him during the explosion. And at a time where there was such sensationalism, uh, with any kind of gay representation, this kind of quiet, matter of fact, simple humanist storytelling, I think this speaks volumes more certainly than North Stars. I'm gay. Um, It's a very sweet story that is told in only 10 pages. The writer was Martin Pascoe. The artist is somebody named Frank. Oh, somebody named he had a career. Jesus Christ, Anna, what's Frank
Some dude.
Springer? Yeah. It's never been collected. It is available on DC Comics app, and the Secret Six story in and of itself is it's pretty intricate. But in terms of stories that have really like given me the feels, because this was told on such a simple humanist level, uh, that this doesn't have more of a prominence when gay representation is talked about in mainstream comics, it baffles me because it's a really good story. So
Yeah, I need
won't
to
be on.
go. I've never read this.
Yeah, it won't be on your shelf, but it's again, all the Action Comics weeklies are on the DC app, the DC Infinite. So this won't be on your shelf. There's no collected edition, but you get the app, and this you read in between the others. So that's my recommendation. Action
Cool.
Comics Weekly number 824.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep, that's it.
And we're done.
Yeah, gay comics.
Yay, gay comics.
These are
Yeah.
just, and literally like these are just a few. I mean, there are
Scratching
so
the surface,
many.
man.
I mean, in the piles that I have a lot of gay comics, a lot of comics that are done by queer creators, and it's kind of hard to just like read all of these. But if you are going to read some of these. Read the ones that we've suggested, and just
Right.
just to kind of give you a taste. See if you want to read more.
And hey, if you're a person who listens to this podcast and you've got the queer comic shelf, right? Like you've got that, snap a picture of it, throw it up on Instagram if you're comfortable with doing that, and tag us in it. I want to see what's on your bookshelf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, please do
That'd
that.
Because I'm just thinking, just off the cuff,
Yeah.
dozens of creators that could have made this.
Oh, absolutely.
that we could have been talking
Yeah.
about in this here. Dozens.
Mm.
And I think they all have something very different to offer. I think it
Oh,
was
yeah.
a very nice selection, between like memoir, straight out comedy, almost young adult, almost
Yeah.
all ages stuff. It's a nice balance.
Porn.
I mean, that's purposefully
porn,
why
yeah.
I picked a lot. Yeah, I
Which,
pick a
by
lot of
the way,
YA because it's
Why doesn't this fall into the fun comic category, Bill?
Oh,
That's
it's fun.
bull-
It's fun.
it's fun in a different way.
It's fun.
But I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons why
Caleb,
I do
I've
put
sent
up a
you
lot
pictures.
of YA.
You know I've had fun.
I'm well aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's a
sent
lot
one
of
to
fun.
Steve too that I didn't realize he didn't see yet. So these conversations go in strange
And
places.
go and go.
And go and go.
Hmm.
And we laughed and we
We
laughed.
Uh,
All right, want to wrap this one up?
Let's do it.
Okay,
sure.
so when we wrap an episode of the Comic Book Bears up, we have two last stops, two last destinations. The first of which is where we show off what we call our Geek Gets, genre-related items that we may have received since the last episode that we like to kind of show off. Steve, do you have anything along those lines?
Not really. Just just showing off my one little KFC Lobo key
Okay,
hanger.
well,
or
I'm going to
whatever.
take that opportunity to show off my three
Ooh.
that I got. Now,
You've
this
got
is with a caveat. Just people, it's still it's still active right now. It's still
Mhm.
happening. So if you want to go to KFC, they do have a Supergirl promotion, and with the Supergirl meals, you can get these little keychains or whatever the hell you call these.
And you can get them without buying food separately for $2.99 a piece.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yes.
there's very few KFCs around me, so I made one trip and got the two, and then the one
That we got
last
together.
in North Carolina. I did not know that. I didn't know. I know
Bill
McDonald's.
said he's
did
making
that.
another trip. He's got a fat
No,
wallet.
for Ruthie, no.
I need the other three. Well, I think there's 5, aren't there? Like 5 or 6.
There's 5. There's 2 Supergirls and a Ruthie, apart from the ones that I showed you. And they also have a crypto bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah, 25, like $25 or something.
I don't like their chicken that much. We
Yeah.
have
Me
mountain
and,
fried chicken. I'd rather be going there.
Hey, yeah,
me and fried foods aren't friends right now anyway.
yeah,
So
yeah. And
um,
Popeyes is right where the old
yeah.
KFC was, so I do that. Okay,
I
over to
don't have a geek yet, but my crypto wants to make sure you know that the Tequila Flamingo believes in you.
Yay!
Okay, well, as of 3:30 p.m., I didn't have a geek yet, but and I do have to preface this by saying, like, I've been in a foul mood. I hope I've put things forward, a very positive attitude forward. But the situation is my birthday is in 2 days, and the heat wave kind of fucked everything. I'm a potty mouth tonight. The
Naughty.
I am. It's like explicit content. Um, it really messed everything up, in terms of plans. Can't really do stuff when it's 102 outside. So I've been kind of bummed, but I got to talk to my buds right tonight, so that helped, and they wished me happy birthdays in the Chiron, which I appreciate. And I did get a gift from, and this should it be a familiar name to Bear Cave of Terror people as well right now, Vince Tenebra. He sent me the Batman manual, the Batmobile manual, which goes over some of the major designs of the Batmobile from the, here you have the Batboat. You have uh,
So cool.
some deviations from just the actual cars themselves. Vince is a huge car dude, and this is from Titan Books. Nothing I'd ever buy myself, but I'm gonna enjoy the hell reading out of this. And I also love when you get a gift from somebody that's like 100% them. You
Yep.
know, yeah. So
Yeah.
so that's one thing I just really love, and I'm just gonna enjoy the hell reading out of this. So thank you,
That's
Vince.
awesome.
That's Geek Get the Batmobile Manual, a beautiful hardcover book from Titan. Okay, so the last stop we have on our journey of any episode of the Combo Bears is
I
something we
love that
call
crypto,
the,
by the way.
yeah, hi crypto. Yeah, yeah, it's
Dorm.
yeah, just keeping it cute and no more crypto in distress. So the last stop is something we call the woofs of the week. In the bear community, if you find a fella attractive, you woof at him. And we do something very similar to that, where we woof at something which may be comic book or comic book related, maybe a TV program, maybe a charitable initiative, maybe a movie, anything under the sun that we think you, fair listener or viewer, may be interested in sampling. I'll start as I always do with Steve. Steve, what is your woof of the week?
Well, my woof of the week was actually something that I got to do the other week, and it was I got to be a guest on another podcast called Scree Onk, which is one of the Glitterjaw Network podcasts. You can find a lot of their other podcasts on glitterjaw.com, but this one was with Derek and Doug, and I had a blast. We were talking about Godzilla versus Destroya, which was the 1995 Godzilla. Was the last of the Heisei era movies. Lots of fun, had a blast, and go check it out. You can find it on all the podcasting platforms. Scree Onk, Skreeonk.
Nice. All right, over to Caleb. Caleb, what is your wolf of the week?
My Wolf of the Week goes out to a little bit of a musical selection. And so it's a new album that actually our buddy Rick turned me on to when we were at Heroes. We were stopping and talking about some music. And it's the new album, Stop Go, by the band OK Goodnight. Um, really, really amazing stuff. It is heavy, but it's not what I would call metal. It's like jazzy, but also angry. It is just really fun stuff. So wonderful female lead, since that's the theme with Supergirl, theme of the night. But really good music. Go check this out if you haven't. It is very, 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 very good album.
Okay, nice. I will. I've heard something about that because I think there was some one of the members has a connection to Rooster Teeth somehow.
Oh. Hmm.
Yeah.
I have to look that up. I haven't
Yeah,
dove that deep.
I think they're involved in one of the shows.
Okay.
But I like barely heard about it. Barely, but
The
sounds
album's
cool.
really good.
Cool.
Really, really good. Like
Okay.
jazz metal, but not pretentious.
Okay. All right. Well, my wolf of the week is also music oriented. This last Friday, I went to see a concert. Steve, if you can throw some graphics up there. Yes, I saw the Generations tour, which features the Human League, Soft Cell, and Alison Moyet. My date was at the legendary Radio City Music Hall in New York City, and there's the outside of it. It was a sold out show, and I went with some dudes there, my regular crew, with a straight guy in the front, Tom, Andy, who's seen everybody, Edwin in the back, and if you notice, yes, he is holding my nipple. Um, these things happen. I don't know. I don't know how they do, but they do. And then the next picture I have here is inside of Radio City. We had the best seats in the house, which is in the first mezzanine, dead center. If you're ever seeing a show there, do it there. It's perfect. So as classic rock groups kind of die out from the touring world, I think you're going to see much more reliance upon new wave and 80s era acts for these package bills. And this one you just couldn't beat. All three singers, Phil Oakey, Alison Moyet, and Mark Almond, were just in great form. Uh,
Hmm.
I did get a Soft Cell shirt, which
Oh, cool.
replicates one of their early singles, and then with the dates on the back. And if I was made of money, I also would have probably gotten the Human League shirt as well. There's plenty of videos out there. I think they still have 3 dates in the States. I know they played Charlotte because our friends, uh, uh, because Joe
Joe and Chris and
went, and some other people there.
yeah.
But just an excellent, excellent show. Human League have not played the States in 15 years, and I think
Hmm.
there's some kind of testimony about of delays like that making a difference, because the last time I saw them was a venue that sat 2,100 people and was nowhere near sold out.
Oh,
And
wow.
this time they sold out Radio City, which is considerably bigger. And it was just a great night. And it's like one of those nights that like this is why, as much of a pain in the ass as it is to make it to concerts sometimes, this is why you do it. It was a fantastic night of music. Loved
Hmm.
it. And that's my wolf of the week.
Cool.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up. Again, we are the Comic Book Bears. You can find us on most social media as Comic Book Bears. You can find us on Facebook, however, as Comic Book Bears Podcast. If you want to listen to us, please do so through Apple Podcasts, through Spotify, and many of the other podcasting platforms. If you want to write to us, please do so by sending an email to comicbookbears@gmail.com. If you joined us through one of our live feeds tonight, thank you. If you are seeing us later on YouTube through our YouTube account, please like and subscribe. We're coming upon July 4th, and we certainly hope everybody has a very good Independence Day. And if you're in the path of this heat wave, please stay cool.
Yeah.
It's nothing to screw with. Very, very bad out there. So
Yeah. Brutal.
brutal,
Brutal.
brutal. I don't know why like Cary Grant had a comment, but he did.
Oh,
That's it. It's
that's
another
it.
episode. And thank you guys for the happy birthday wishes. That really made me feel good.
Yay.
And flood me with birthday tidings on the 4th.
Do it.
Please do
Yep.
that. I've been in a, as I told these gentlemen before, I was in a foul mood over plans like just going to pot, just because of the situations outdoors. So, um, I'm a big boy. I can deal with it.
There's fun things to do inside.
There can be. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've done them before.
That's good.
too much.
Well, not enough.
This is the weirdest ending to a show.
Well, it just, yeah.
It just went. It went. It's like, and I think Caleb, we have to stress that there's many times when we have conversations, and then Steve chimes in, and Steve always brings it to a weird place.
He
You know
didn't do that this episode.
He didn't do that this episode. He was just there.
Yeah.
So.
Aren't I just sitting over here saying nothing?
Just being Hayes.
Just being naive, smiling with my glasses on. I got my posters behind my head.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one.
Good night.
See
Good
you
night,
soon.
everybody.
I'm gonna hear a whoop and a bang on the recording.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.